The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. And follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful author from Memphis, Tennessee. He's written a previous book called 5 Night Stand, and he's got a new one called Amelia, Thorn, and this is most of it's based around the Memphis area, kind of going back in time here. And he's also appeared in stories and essays in Memphis Noir, Oxford American, Memphis Magazine, and more. And, you know, just talks about life, what's happening. And this guy is an up-and-coming writer. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from beautiful Memphis, Tennessee, ladies and gentlemen, author Richard Alley. Richard, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Well, we're great to have you on as well, too. So you have a new book called Amelia, Thorn, which is from Beacon Publishing Group. You can also purchase it on Amazon. You also wrote 5 Night Stand, and you're featured in stories and essays in Memphis Noir, Oxford American, Memphis Magazine, and more. You've been writing for quite some time. And before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started.
I got started writing?
Correct.
Probably as in high school, I think. I started writing really, really bad poetry, and I hope none of it exists anymore.
Sounds like most of us, bad poetry.
yeah, I know. I'm the idiot though who admits to it, and but I do hope it's not out anymore. I transitioned from that into short stories, and you know, like any young writer, I think it's the greatest thing on paper. You know, you write a story, it's 10 pages long, and the first thing I do is I fold it up, stick it in an envelope, and mail it off to the New Yorker, waiting for them to, you know, call me and tell me how great I am.
Uh-huh.
And that did not happen. It did not happen. It hasn't happened yet. But so through the years, I kept writing short stories, and it really wasn't until my late 30s that I thought about writing. Well, I shouldn't say thought about that. I considered actually writing a novel, and that's what I did. I sat down, I wrote my first one, and then I wrote 4 more. 2 of them are published, and just kept going at it year after year.
That's amazing. You said you had 2 published, and you've got 4 more in the works. And tell us about those, and when can we expect them?
Oh, well, you take the first one I wrote, nobody's ever going to read that one. Nobody needs to read that one, trust me. It was practice. Although what I did find is that first novel I wrote, the first manuscript I wrote, I've used it for parts. It's like having a junk car out in your yard, and you go out and you take a carburetor off, and you go out and you take a windshield wiper off and a rear view mirror, and you use it here and there and other places. And actually some of those, one character and maybe a couple little storylines show up in this new novel, Amelia, Thorn, that I just wrote. Mm-hmm. And there's probably, 10 years of difference between those 2 manuscripts.
Wow.
Yeah. So as far as the others, I got a couple brewing, and we'll just see how long they simmer and when maybe they can get out in the world too.
Mm-hmm. And what was that one moment that influenced you precisely into writing? In other words, what was that aha moment that says, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
I don't know. I think it was probably the dream of every young person to not really have to do anything. You just sit in your room and you make stuff up, and you nobody tells you what to do or anything. That's not how it's gone, but that was the dream, is just, I can just sit around and make things up. Sign me up.
Huh. That's interesting. And who are some of your favorite authors and writers growing up?
I have been drawn to, especially when I was a younger person, to Richard Russo. I loved Morrison, Chabon, Julie Oringer, and here in later years, and Zadie Smith, and Lee Smith is a fantastic Southern writer who's a friend of ours. Who else? And then, of course, growing up, there's Hemingway and Salinger and all the usual, Kerouac and all the usual suspects.
Uh-huh. And also, what would you consider a favorite genre among the writers and books and everything else?
Probably something broad.
Uh-huh.
Just literature. I'm not drawn to fantasy. I'm not drawn to, I'll even say young adult, which my wife is a young adult writer, and my kids love it, and God bless them for it, but it's just not my bag. Horror, all that, I'm not drawn to. Just kind of, just literary fiction.
Mm-hmm. Or whatever.
Simple.
Or whatever comes to mind as well, too. And we'll talk about your book, Amelia, Thorne, in just a minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Richard Alley out of Memphis, Tennessee, with Amelia Thorne here on the Mike Wagner Show. Previously wrote 5 Night Stand. And before we talk about Amelia Thorne, tell us about the book 5 Night Stand. That was your first novel.
Yeah, 5 Night Stand. It's about a retiring jazz musician. He's probably in his 80s, and he's looking at his last 5 nights of playing live. And the book is those 5 nights. So So over the course of 5 nights, he meets 2 other people. Most of this happens up in New York, although we take side trips down south and to Europe and places like that. But he's kind of going over his whole life story, his regrets, his losses, his triumphs with these 2 people he meets. The 2 people he meets, one is a very young woman who is a musical prodigy. She's on the cusp of being great, but she has got a debilitating neurological disease that is making her so she can't control her hands. She's a piano player.
Uh-huh.
So she's really looking at her young age at the end of her life, really. He meets a reporter who's going through a midlife crisis. He's left his home looking for a little bit of adventure. He knows of Oliver Pleasant, that's the jazz artist. And so he's going to write his story. So it's kind of as told to throughout the book. And Oliver Pleasant, again in his 80s, just going over everything he's seen through his life, from the time he was a young child up until those last 5 nights.
Wow, that is amazing. And of course, it almost sounds like you kind of get a lot of second chances to accomplish what you want until you get to the end. That's what it sounds like. Right.
And then you have time to look over your regrets and things you wish you hadn't done. Oliver's wife has passed away, and he has done some things that he is not proud of. And so he has the time to go over those things and kind of repent, although not to her, to a reporter, but he gets to admit to his faults.
Mm-hmm. And where can we find 5 Night Stand at?
Amazon, all the online places.
Okay. All right. And then we'll talk about Amelia Thorne in just a minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable, custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Richard Alley of Amelia Thorne here on the Mike Wagner Show. Talked about 5 Night Stand, which you can find on Amazon, also published by the Beacon Publishing Group. And let's talk about Amelia Thorne, where it's about the first photograph Amelia Thorne has ever taken. And go ahead and tell us more about the book.
Amelia Thorne, we start to learn about Amelia on the eve of a retrospective of her life's work. She's been a storied, a long time photojournalist, traveled the world. She kind of retired, put herself into self-retirement at a certain point, but someone has discovered her and wants to show all of her work and kind of tell her story. And it's a story that begins 70 years earlier in Morning, Mississippi. That's Mourning. It's a sad little town, as the name states, with a tragic history. And Amelia grew up there in a patriarchal family, large landowners in Mississippi. All the patriarchs had died, so it's a matriarchal family now, but the matriarchs are really just shadows of their husbands, and all they have to guide Amelia is legacy and heritage and all those other words that some Southerners pull out to make us sound good. And Amelia knows something else out there. She's miserable. She knows there's something in the world out there for her. So the action starts in the spring of 1942. Pearl Harbor, of course, has happened about 6 months before. The young man she's in love with has joined the Navy, and is getting ready to ship out to California.
Okay. Are you still with us, Richard? Richard, are you still with us?
And Amelia Thorne is immediately enamored with the city. She's never seen such a big city, which it was then. Memphis was where all the country folk came to sell their wares and be entertained and shop and eat and do everything else. So it's bustling, and she's never seen anything like it. And she's enamored with it even through the first hour. Within the first hour, they're there sitting in a diner across the street from the train station. Their bag is taken with all their money in it.
Oh,
so
my.
Now they're in a strange town. Yeah, all their money's been taken. Don't know anybody. Goes to California, obviously, to ship out. There's no going back for Amelia. There's no way she's going back to Morning, Mississippi. So what happens next is where the book started for me. It's a true story my great-grandmother used to tell me. My great-grandparents she was full Irish. My great-grandfather was full Italian. And the fact that they got married in their family was scandalous at the time. But in the 1940s, during World War II, they had 4 small children, and my great-grandfather got a call from their parish priest one night. There was a young couple in town the gentleman was on leave from the war, and they had gotten married, and they had no money, and they had nowhere to stay, and could you please put them up for the night? So, of course, they're not going to say no to their priest, so, of course, bring them over. My great-grandparents always had people in the house, always had food on the table, always had a drink in the glass for whoever might stop by.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple's there. Again, this is a newlywed couple. This is their wedding night. They probably took, one of the kids' rooms, put the kids on the couch. You take that room. Well, whatever happens on a wedding night happened that night.
Uh-huh.
And the next morning, my great-grandfather, as a magnanimous gift, offered to get them their own hotel room, telling them that a young married couple just needs their own space.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what happens in the story. So they're taken in, then they get a hotel room downtown, and for the next couple of days, Amelia gets that whole experience of the big city. And she meets people, and she sees things. She sees things good. She sees things bad. But in the course of those few days, she falls in love with Memphis.
Uh-huh.
She loves the city. She's determined to not leave the city. So she tells her new husband, Edward, you go. I'll stay here. There's nothing for me in California. If I go there, then I'm just waiting for you in California. So I'm going to stay here. So he leaves. She stays there. Of course, she's upset. I mean, she's just, her new husband has just left. But she pulls herself up. She goes out. She gets a job. She meets people. A certain amount of time passes. She realizes she's pregnant.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah. So you've got all that going on. And then, Mike, I heap all kinds of tragedy on this poor girl. And that's the worst thing a writer can do, really, is create this character, fall in love with this character, and then just make one bad thing after another happen to her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was in 2014. I started writing this in late 2013. 2014, I'd gotten 40,000 words in. I'd heaped the worst possible things you could imagine on this poor girl. And then I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't know what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I sold 5 Night Stands, so I had to deal with all the editing that goes on with that. So I would get my edits, and I'd go through it, and I'd send it to my editor. And in the few weeks I had before I got it back, I'd pick up Amelia Thorne again. I'd start at the beginning. I'd read it all the way to the midpoint. I'd make a few changes. and then I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she languished like that for several years. And you just feel terrible. You know, I know that she's there. I know she's in trouble, and I couldn't get her out.
Mm-hmm. And of course, during the 7 years as well, too, what kind of trouble did she experience?
Oh, she's horribly attacked. She has to go on the run. She doesn't go far, but she has to leave Memphis. Her husband doesn't make it through the war. And I don't want to give too much away, but just one thing after another happens to her.
Mm-hmm. And of course, too, according to sources as well, too, you're traveling the world on your own terms without regret, and the strength never knew she had. So basically, she's just traveling on the world under her terms, and it's almost like that, she just has the freedom, taking pictures and whatever else, and it's almost like, kind of the spirit that lives on.
Yeah, and that's what happens. That's what I discovered, after the election in 2016, and I saw, and this is real life now, I saw the women rising up, and I saw them marching, and they were inspiring to me and amazing. And I saw my wife and my daughters. And in 2018, I got a residency at Crosstown Arts Residency. They asked me to be a writer in residence. It was their first one.
Nice.
And it really gave me the time in 2018 to think about Amelia in those terms, that she was strong, that everything heaped on her just made her stronger and more persistent in what she wanted to do. And I realized then that she wasn't a victim at all. So I put that camera in her hands, and that camera took her like.
Okay. What? Richard, you're still with us. Richard? Richard, are you still with us? Okay. Richard, are you still with us? Richard? Okay. I think we lost Richard here, so we're going to try to get Richard back. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960 or 1-800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com.
We dropped out.
Oh, okay, yeah. We got Richard back on the line here, so I guess we dropped out. I apologize. And and also, I hope that's not Amelia trying to mess with us here. So
Let's hope not. She is a formidable character to deal with.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I guess we're trying to figure out where we left off before you got cut off here. So I guess you can simply say that, in a sense, it's just, drawing some strength and maybe some personal experiences. And what can people learn from Amelia Thorne?
Yeah, that everything you go through is bad. And again, she went through some terrible things. It's not the end of the world. And you take something from every experience you have and from every person that you meet. Mm-hmm. If you're open and willing to take something from that to help you on your own adventures, then it really makes you stronger of character, makes you stronger physically, I think, makes you stronger spiritually to get you through life and see some things that maybe you wouldn't have normally encountered.
Right. Exactly. And once again, the book by author Richard Alley, Amelia Thorne here on the Mike Wagner Show, through Beacon Publishing as well, too. And where can people find Amelia Thorne at?
It is, we'll start with Amazon. IndieBound is a great one, indiebound.com. You go there, you put in your local, or you put in your zip code, and it finds where it is in your local area. Everybody should support their local books. I know Powell's has them in where's Powell's? Portland. Mm-hmm. And then the bigger ones, Amazon, Barnes and Noble have them, but if you can get one through your local bookstore, then please do that.
Okay, we will do so. Author Richard Alley here on the Mike Wagner Show. A big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Just a couple more things here. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Biggest influence in my career, probably my family, my wife, and the friends I've known who have committed to their own art.
Okay. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
To a writer?
To a writer or anything.
I would say to young writers, because I'm asked a lot, is just to keep at it. That it is, it's just the toughest thing in the world to do, because you sit alone and you write, and it could take years and years, and you think nobody cares, but just keep at it, because at some point it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Your book's going to get published, your poem's going to get published, your song's going to get published, whatever it might be.
That is fantastic. Once again, author Richard Alley of Amelia, Thorn, published by Beacon Publishing here on the Mike Wagner Show. Richard, big thank you for your time again. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase your books?
You can find me at richardalley.com. You can find me on Twitter at Richard Alley. Instagram, it's the same way, at Richard Alley. I'm on those. Working on a few different things right now. Not really ready to put it out there in the world yet, but and find my books. Again, if you can go to your local bookseller, ask them for the book, they'll get it for you. If you just then put it out there on Google, and the internet will show you where it is.
We will do that. Again, Richard, a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. Love you to have back on 2020 and beyond. And you've been great. Just keep us up to date.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it tonight.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.